Joining us now, Speaker Paul Ryan, who gave a great speech at the Heritage Foundation pushing this tax reform plan. Got to get this done. Speaker Ryan, it's great to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Laura. Thanks for having me back. I think that the president's speech was music to my ears. I mean, it's exactly what we need to do.
Well, he talked about the middle class getting hammered for years. They don't get the relief. Only a small slice of society seems to get relief from the Congress. And he had a rousing response from the crowd, and especially when he said it's time to basically, well, he didn't say it's time. He said the H&R Block won't like me very much because it's going to be so easy for the most people to do their taxes. That's a simple message, Speaker Ryan, that everyone can understand.
And we put together this framework with the president and the Senate, and it's literally 9 out of 10 taxpayers under our plan can do their taxes on a postcard. And he's exactly right. The people who have all these loopholes snuck into the tax code are not going to like it. And that's why the speech I gave at Heritage today was saying we're going to have an army of special interests descend upon Capitol Hill in a matter of days to try and defend the status quo, which, by the way, is a rigged deal where, well-connected people, well-off people can hire accountants and lawyers to navigate this code and get a good deal for them, but at least everybody else stuck with higher tax rates and higher taxes. So the whole purpose of this is to unrig the deal, unrig the economy, unrig the tax code, get rid of those loopholes, and just lower everybody's tax rates and simplify the system.
Oh my God! It's ridiculous.
So you can do your taxes on a postcard and just pay and just keep your money in the first place. That's the whole point of all.
No, it's all too much. It's all too much, and it's just he went through the man hours that are wasted on tax preparation and consultants. All of that was great, and it looks like you guys are now working in tandem on this issue,
Absolutely.
Right? And it's different than kind of it was to healthcare. I mean, House did its work on the healthcare reform, but stuff's getting logjammed in the Senate.
Healthcare too. It's just the Senate kind of went sideways on us. So we worked in tandem with them on healthcare. As you know, we have passed 337 bills out of the House already this year, more under the Trump administration than under Obama, Bush, Clinton, and the other Bush.
Yeah, but Speaker Ryan, can't you use your leverage with Mitch McConnell? They on the supplemental that you guys sent up to the Senate, was it 30-something billion dollars, $37 billion, and you guys and you guys are going to get this back. It's going to be all done. You guys not going to have any say on this, and you're not going to have no reform in place with the supplemental, no offsets. That's what I'm concerned about. Where are the offsets, Speaker Ryan?
I'll finish the sentence I was making, which was 274 of those 337 bills are still over in the Senate. So we got more work to get done over there to get this agenda passed. On the supplemental, we're passing the bill the president asked us to pass. We're passing the bill just as was drafted and requested by the president's management and budget office. And the issue of this supplemental is this is very much of an emergency. It's to the emergency funds for the flood insurance program, which runs out of money in a matter of days. When people are literally tearing down sheetrock in Houston, this is the fund that helps them do that. And the FEMA disaster fund, which because of another Hurricane Maria, they've burned through that money so fast. So this is a very temporary kind of a stopgap measure, and we're passing the very bill the president is asking us to pass and keeping it clean to that here in the House.
But we can do offsets, right, Speaker? I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have limited time.
Absolutely.
This is where you guys have the authority. You guys are the appropriators. Senate can't just jam this thing through because everybody's, Puerto Rico, hurricanes, without any offsets. This is where you guys have the authority, and you have the knowledge because you've been there for so long. That with this flood insurance program, people can't get a free pass after 3 floods take their houses, away. You can't just keep getting rebuilt by the federal government.
Well, but the flood insurance program runs out of money in days, and the reauthorization, we're getting into the weeds here, expires in December, and so it's the reauthorization of this program where we're pushing those reforms. So we've got a number of reforms we're pushing for the flood insurance program so that it can be self-sufficient, and so that, just like you said, it doesn't encourage people to continually rebuild in the wrong places, which harms them themselves. But putting that aside, you asked me about getting things through the Senate. The reason we are so excited and bullish on tax reform is because we're going to use the tool, which it's about once a year you get to use this thing, called reconciliation, where they can't filibuster. You know those 274 bills we got sitting over the Senate? Those bills can be filibustered. That means Chuck Schumer can wage a filibuster and require 60 votes and gum up the works, which is what he's doing. And on tax reform, because we'll put it through what we call reconciliation, Chuck Schumer can't filibuster it. The Senate cannot.
Now, you can tell Chuck Schumer you're not going to
bill.
appropriate any money for his pet projects unless he starts moving these bills through, right? I mean, you can play hardball with the Senate. I mean, you're Paul Ryan is an extremely nice person.
We do play hardball with the Senate, and like I said, we're racking and stacking here in the House. We're doing our jobs. We passed Kate's Law. We passed sanctuary cities. We passed repeal and replace of Dodd-Frank. We passed repeal and replace of health care. We passed our budget, which balances the budget and pays down the debt. So we're doing our job here in the House, and we're just pushing. And they have a different system in the Senate.
Yeah. The president today, Speaker Ryan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the president today said we can't keep FEMA, the military, and the first responders, who've been amazing, in Puerto Rico forever. And that people are going crazy because he's saying that. But isn't it the case that we can't afford this? And at some point, America gets weaker and weaker and weaker the more we have to borrow from China and Japan and Germany or print money to pay for things with money we don't have. And you guys have to be the fiscal stewards here and be, as hard as it is for people to hear, we can't put a state-of-the-art power grid in Puerto Rico. Maybe we can help rebuild, but we don't have a limitless supply of taxpayer dollars.
This is why we have to have entitlement reform, which is what is driving our budget into its crisis in the future. And that's why getting repeal and replace done in law is so important. It's not just the fact that Obamacare is failing. It's that the healthcare entitlements are what drive us to a bankruptcy. So the more we can reform the big spending programs in the federal government, the better we are on a fiscal
standpoint. It's a long ball.
The more we can.
That's a
long ball. It's a long ball. But it is. You're asking about borrowing money and funding emergencies. And
but can't you attach those reforms to these relief packages? Can't you nail those reforms right into relief packages? Like, we're going to help, but these are the reforms in place.
Technically speaking, I won't get into the details on entitlements. You can't. They're separate. This is discretionary spending. It's not entitlement spending. That's why repeal and replace was so important, because that was the biggest entitlement reform bill Congress has ever passed. The bill we passed in May. And unfortunately, the bill that they have not been able to pass yet in the Senate. Congressman
Duffy just said a few minutes ago on the show that you all don't get tax reform passed. It's going to be a 2006 wipeout in the House and the Senate. Do you agree with him?
I think we need to keep our word, and I think the economy is ready to take off if only we get government off of people's backs, and that starts with getting people more of their own money by cutting taxes and reforming the code. I think he's right, which is the country needs this, the country is expecting this, and we made a commitment, and we need to keep that commitment.
Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, we really appreciate your coming on and spending some time with our listeners. Thank you so much. Keep it going on this great work on tax reform. We're going to take a break. Don't go away.